Well, I suppose we might as well get going. Um, so today is just course outline day. I mean, you've probably already experienced this at least once today. I think you had web dev today and something else. Nope, just the web dev. Okay, well then you've only heard it once. The other group heard it twice already. Lucky them. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna go over the course outline and all that. So first thing I want to mention is I record my lectures. This is worth mentioning because there are like 25 people in this room and there are 41 in the class. So, I mean, it's a 6 p.m. math class. I get it. I get it. But sometimes that's just how life is, right? But what that means is everything is available online. I record my lectures, barring technical issues. This is not the primary delivery method. So if they don't work, then all I can say is, sorry, didn't work. I'm not gonna make a new one, right? But that only happens like once or twice a term. So like there's an audio issue or it didn't encode properly or whatever. But I do record the lectures, and I have two sections of this. Right before this is my other one. So worst case, if one of the class's videos didn't work, it's the same material. So I'll just be like, okay, well, we can just use the other one and it's the same. But yeah, point is I do record it. So specifically, it's a 6 p.m. math class. If someone's like, oh, I just want to go home, I got stuff I got to do, I get it. I don't take attendance. I'm not going to grill you if you miss a day or whatever. But I'm not going to give special treatment if someone's like, I missed the class. And then if I say, did you watch the video? And you're like, no, I'll be like, well, I mean, go watch the video. So anyway, with that out of the way, I guess introductions are in order. So my name's Travis. Last name doesn't matter because it's weird. I don't want to feel too old. You can just call me Travis. Professor Boblin is. It makes me uncomfortable. Just call me Travis. But I guess you do need to know my last name for like email and stuff like that. So my name is Travis Boblin. On that note, contact information. So my email is travis.bomblin at rdpolytech.ca. And you know, the best part about teaching the same class back to back is I get to reuse all the same jokes, and they're extra funny to me when I say them the second time. And if it's the second time you've heard it, then you must really like me if you're in the class twice in a row. But this you probably are familiar with formats like this already, because in the middle of this whole process we changed our portal. So you were using the loop and you got a username for it, and then in the middle of it you came back and you were like, what, I can't, it doesn't work anymore. And maybe you were missed in the communications. I'm sorry. It wasn't my fault. Which it's easy to blame me because I actually have two roles at the college. I do this, I teach in the evenings on the side. I also have a full-time position, 8:30 to 4:30. It's an admin position. I work for the registrar's office, kind of coordinate stuff between IT and the registrar's office, which when I'm talking about registrar's office and student stuff, I was part of this project. But I was not part of the part that was annoying for you. So truthfully, I've made every effort to try to communicate with as many students as possible. As like, yo, the name changed. We gotta get and it just happens. So sorry about that. But that means if there are any issues, you know who to grill first, and it's me. You can just say, Travis, this sucks. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. But anyway, yes. Now that you're here and registered, your emails actually work. They're emails now. They are email addresses instead of just UPNs. If you know what that means, great. I'm sorry. Okay, so other course outline things. Office hours. So because I work a 8:30 to 4:30 position here as well, I don't have typical office hours. So that's not me saying you can't come talk to me, to be very clear. But because I work at an 8:30 to 4:30 position, I might be in meetings or whatever. So my office hours are by appointment. That just means email me first, and then I'll just say, okay, well, what time works for you? And you'll say 2 on Wednesday. I'll be like, oh, I have a meeting at 2 on Wednesday. Does 3 work? And you'd be like, okay, right. We just have to set something up and then we can meet. If you are a glutton for punishment, I will also be happy to wait until after class and stick around to chat with you about things, because we're done at 7:20. So, I'm happy to just stick around. But last year I had a class, similar time slot. Someone has to fall on the sword. Just to be clear, you don't have a 6 to 7:20 math class because of me. You had a class that fit in this time slot, and I fell on the sword and said, well, I'll do it. Because try to find instructors who are excited to teach 6 to 7:20. You're not going to find them. So someone had to do it. But I get it. No one's going to want to stick around after class. Generally, they didn't last term, but I am more than willing to do it. So if you want to, if you're like, Travis, I just want to ask you a quick question after class, can I do it? Absolutely, anytime, right? Totally available for that. Not a problem for this group. I told the other group, hey, if you want me to stick around after this class to ask a question, let me know in advance, because if you don't, I'm not going to stick around waiting for people who don't show up. Easy for this group though, because I'm in this class with you, and if you stick around, it's obvious that you're sticking around, right? You want to ask me a question. So point is office hours by appointment. Hours by appointment. And again, you can just email me. Or after class, if you want. My email turnaround time in here, it says 1 to 2 business days. I gotta be honest, that's a total lie in a way that favors you, because I work 8:30 to 4:30, so I'm always at my desk, and I have my phone, which has Teams and email on it. So you email me, I see it immediately, right? I will probably respond to it, especially if it's a simple question like, "Hey, when is this due?" It's like, okay, that's easy to respond to. So usually response time is like 5 minutes. Unless you email me at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, in which case I'm probably awake and I saw it and I just went, no, I'm not going to respond to that. I'll wait till Monday. So weekdays usually only. What else do we have? I guess there's a phone number in here. I don't think I've ever had anyone phone me. I mean, I guess you could, but I'm not going to write it down because email is my preferred method. I don't know if Kirk would have said, please contact me through Blackboard messages. Probably not, though. Probably said, email me if you have any questions. I'm the same. Just email me if you have any questions. More than happy to answer it. And something that I found that students are hesitant to do with math is ask questions through email, because your assumption is going to be like, this is so annoying. I don't want to do math over the email. But all you have to do is grab your phone camera, take a picture of it, say, Travis, I'm stuck at this part. And then I can go from there, right? It's easy. It's hard for me, because then I have to try to figure out how to respond math in a nice way. You just take a picture and say, number 2, please. And we go from there. Okay, so as for a bunch of this stuff here, it talks about course description and course learning outcomes and course topics and stuff like that. This is in dire need of an update, because I've been teaching this course for like 2 years now, and this was drafted like 4 years ago, and it doesn't really fit what we want to do, so it needs to be updated. Like here's a perfect example of what I mean. So this question, or learning outcome, this is something you're supposed to be able to do after this course. Convert and apply imperial and metric measurements. So if I said, all right, convert 14 inches to centimeters, how do you do that? Like, how would you do it right now? Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you would go Google 14 inches to centimeters, and it will tell you, right? So, like, probably not an important learning outcome, but symbolic logic and how if then else statements work, and what or and really mean, more important. So little things like that. So point is, don't pay too much attention to this. The back has a list of topics. We will be covering these roughly in this order. It's gonna vary depending on timing, especially because this term we missed 2 days. We missed 2 Mondays, Remembrance Day, Truth and Reconciliation Day. So we lose 2 whole classes, which isn't a problem time-wise. We still have the same amount of 45 hours or whatever it is. We still have enough time. But when I start talking about assessments, the cadence will be kind of weird because the way I structure the class. But I'll talk about that when we get there. But the reason why I'm drawing attention to the outline of topics on the back is because it's more accurate than what you see in the front. And I am using you all as a guinea pig because, so I've taught this course many times already, and one of the topics I covered was proofs. So I'm talking like formal mathematical proofs, like logical proofs, very dry, I'll say. I love them because they're little logic puzzles, essentially. And once you know how to do them, you can just rip through them real fast and they're just kind of fun. But proofs are also the opposite, right? Like think of like the worst puzzle you've ever done that you got stuck on. It took you like 6 hours and you're like, I don't know how to do it. I can't figure it out at all because you didn't know how to get started. That's puzzles. So I'm taking that out and I'm replacing it with something that I hope is more fun and interesting, which is probably going to be graph theory and maybe a brief foray into binary trees, which binary trees are a data structure in computer programming that's very useful. We won't be able to go into too much detail for it, mostly because I don't want to step on toes of either your programming course or future courses where they talk about it. But graph theory is not like, parabola graphs. It's a graph theory is talking about things of this shape. So you've got some vertices connected by edges, right? It's stuff like that. So we'll talk about that, which I think has more value to you as programmers than proofs, because proofs are just puzzles, and you can download a video game for that, so you don't need me to give you more puzzles. But graph theory has uses even in mundane ways. So just think, you're making a website, and you're like, hey, is this website annoying to navigate in various ways? Well, links can form a graph, right? This page links to this page, which then links to these 3 pages, and then they branch out like that in a bunch of links, right? And they link back to each other and so on. So if you build a graph from it, you can find, well, what's the longest path from this edge? And you're like, oh, wow, to get from here to here, it's like 8 clicks. That's real annoying. And then you think, okay, but this one here to here, would they need to go there more immediately? Oh, yeah, okay, well, now I know I should probably fix that, right? Like it can give you heuristic information about how your website is structured, right? And that's just a tiny example, right? There's lots of other uses for graph theory. This is my sales pitch. Is it working? Yeah. Awesome. So anyway, the point is that is a new topic. I have to create the notes from scratch. I'm not going to say it might suck, but you might not like it. And there might be improvements. So I will be asking, hey, is this good? Like, is this interesting? Like, did you like this? And then I would maybe show you the proofs and you'd be like, no, yeah, okay, no, we don't want that. Keep this. But I will be seeking feedback, especially on that. I'm always open to feedback, but like that especially is new. So maybe it'll be good, maybe it won't. Should be good. I think it's an interesting topic. But I just wanted to give you a full disclosure, like, yeah, I'm trying a new topic. What else do we have in here that I wanted to talk about first? So textbooks, no textbook. So I kind of just hinted at it. I provide notes online. So they're already on Blackboard. You can already see them. The new topic isn't there yet because I actually have to make the notes. But every other topic is on there. You can download and print off the notes if you want. Whatever, it's free. Do whatever you want with it. No charge for textbooks or anything like that. Let's see. So structure of the class, and you're going to kind of see it a bit today. I'm sort of doing like a, hey, this is how it kind of works thing. Is usually I lecture for 2 hours. So we have 3 hours a week, right? We have roughly 3 hours, 2 80-minute lectures. And then I lecture for one of them, like I present material, and then finish off the next day. And I say, okay, well, we've got an hour. Here's a worksheet with problems that are related to what we did. Work on them in class and I'll help you, right? So it's like a work period. And then there's a quiz that is basically based on that worksheet. Like I'm going to make the worksheet at the same time as I make the quiz. So like, I'm just going to take one of the questions and put it on the quiz. I might even say, here's the worksheet. It's 4 questions. literally one of the questions from that worksheet's on the quiz. So then I only have to make, 4 questions. But the reason why I draw attention to us having 2 Mondays off is because the way I normally do it is Monday is lecture day, Wednesday is finish off and work period. But if we miss a Monday, now that switches. But then we miss another Monday, so it switches again. So I can't have a cadence. Like the 2 days off really messes that up. So the point is that I am just going to keep you very informed of due dates and what we're doing this time. Normally it would be like pretty, like we'd fall into a rhythm and you'd be like, okay, yeah, this is obvious, this is how we're going to do it. But it's going to switch throughout the term. So probably I'll just be like, oh yeah, next week, Wednesday is this and Monday after is this, right? Like, and then the due date for the quiz is this date, right? Like I'll be more upfront about that so that you don't, turns out being informed of due dates is important. Also in here, I have that late assignments will be accepted, but with a penalty. Now, I have to be clear with this. Late assignment does not mean all manners of a late assignment. If you were sick and you let me know in advance, or you've had some kind of family problem come up, you're like, Travis, I can't. I need a couple days. That's different, right? That's life. Life happens, right? If you get a hold of me in advance, you're like, I got a flu. I can't even get out of bed. I'd be like, then just get better. Don't worry about your homework, right? You can hand it in when you feel better. That does not count towards the late penalty. This is more like you just didn't do it and forgot, and then like 3 days later, you're like, can I still hand it in? Yes, with a penalty, right? And it's just written in the course outline that there's a penalty. Previously, it said late assignments will not be accepted, but then I was always doing that anyway. So it's like, okay, I might as well just make it part of the outline, and it's easier to be more forgiving than it is to be more punishing if I need to, so I'd rather just put the quote unquote punishment in there, and then if I'm more forgiving, then great, right? See what else. I guess assessments are next, so that's a big thing that everyone I'm sure is interested in. Who here has taken a math exam before? Guess what? We don't have any. No exams. The first term I taught this course, I did do an exam, and immediately afterwards, everyone was like, we hated that. And I was like, fair enough. I mean, I don't have to do an exam, do I? And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, so then I won't. So I don't do exams because it turns out students don't like grading exams. Who figured? So what do I have for assessments? I have what I call take-home quizzes. And you'll get an idea, quote unquote idea of what that is today. These are worth 30%. So these are the ones that are going to be due roughly weekly. It's going to be like a single question, generally speaking. And this is the one where it's like, okay, you'll have the work period and you'll have a worksheet with a bunch of like let's say 3 or 4 questions on it. This is going to be very similar to one of those questions, if not just one of those questions, right? Depending. I don't want to promise that it'll be the same question, but like maybe I'll switch the numbers, right? And so if you can do the worksheet and ask me for help, then you put 2 and 2 together and you can do the quiz pretty easily. And these are so you can either hand them in to me physically if you're working on the worksheet and you're like, I've already done the worksheet, I'm going to do the quiz, here you go. Great. I'll always bring copies of them with me. Or you can take them home and just submit them on Blackboard. The due date will be listed on Blackboard. You just take a picture of it, you upload it, right? So pretty straightforward. Nothing too surprising there. So the other thing I have for assessments is what I call chapter review assignments. So I think the name is pretty self-explanatory. We have 4 chapters in this course. So at the end of a chapter, I'm like, hey, here's an assignment that's based on the material of that chapter, right? And because the chapters are kind of distinct. So like the first one is like logic and stuff like that. The second one is going to be set theory and the graph theory that I want to do. The third one is probability and statistics and stuff like that. And then the last one's linear algebra. So those are all like pretty disconnected from each other. So it's easy for me to just say, okay, chapter 1 assignment, right? And then oh, nothing from chapter 2 is on it, right? I don't have to worry about that. So there is going to be 4 of these. Wait, I think I have these wrong. This is 25%. I can't read numbers. Sorry. So chapter review assignments, 30%. There's 4 of them. The due dates are in here roughly. So what I mean by that is because I have a new topic in the course, I can't be 100% certain. These would never be pushed back. So it would never say, oh, due September 28th, now it's due September 26th. No, that would never happen. It would be like, oh, it's due September 28th. We're not quite done yet. I'm going to make it due next week. Right? That type of thing. So there's that flexibility of like, well, maybe it'll be due a couple days after this date, but probably due on this date. And now the other thing I have is group projects. So there are 3 of them in this course, each 15%. And you can work in groups of up to 4, and you can work by yourself if you want. So generally speaking, I have it's across the board. When people say I want to work by myself, either it's a total disaster for them or it goes totally fine, right? So it's up to you. Generally speaking, though, if someone is choosing to work by themselves, their problem is not this course. It's the rest of the courses where you would have group projects and it's overwhelming, right? So if you're someone who can work really well under pressure, then that's fine. But if you're on the math project, you're working solo, you're probably solo throughout the whole program, which gets pretty hard for like Python specifically when you have your big group projects and stuff like that. So you'll probably have a group pretty quick. Your cohort, this whole room, you're going to be stuck with each other for 2 years, basically. So you get to know each other pretty well pretty quick. So this is also another situation where I'm a little bit of guinea pigging, a little bit of science being done. So in previous terms, my group projects, I actually had a student just say this outright. They were like, Travis, these group projects aren't really group projects. They're just a bigger math assignment. And I was like, oh, damn, you're right. So these were basically not distinguishable, right? This is like 4 or 5 questions, and this was like 12 questions. And they're very similar. Like these are slightly more challenging because you can work in a group, quote unquote, but they were basically the same. So I'm trying to think of a way to make it more fun? Question mark? Can I say that about math? And by that, I mean, this is a computer programming diploma. So why not inject some programming into these too? So maybe instead of it being like 12, vaguely challenging math problems, there's like 3 or 4 and then 1 programming question, right? That's like more fun, right? It's just fun. The hesitancy I had about that was I did have a student once say, well, if there's programming, because so if you check this, it's group project 1, group project 2, group programming term project. So the last one is for sure a programming thing. I said, well, Travis, this is the math class. My success in it shouldn't depend on my ability to program. And I thought about it, I was like, that's fair. And then the more I thought, I was like, no, it's not. It's a computer programming diploma. So your success in the entire program is based on your programming ability. So I think to be clear, these are not hard programming questions, and they're based on the math. This is not me saying like, okay, we talked about binary trees, now implement all of these algorithms about binary trees. No. That's too much. These are like simple, like one of them is like implement the GCD algorithm that we described in class, right? Like stuff like that, like stuff we've done in class that's like implement them. They're not super challenging, especially if you've been keeping up with the Python stuff. But it's just a way to say, hey, math isn't all about just number crunching, right? Sometimes you could do some fun programming stuff. So I'm toying around with this a bit. I haven't posted these yet deliberately. I usually post them well in advance so that you have time to just look at them and think about them and work on them because they are more involved. But, maybe, I mean, who thinks it would be nice to have a programming question on something like that? If it cut down on the number of math questions, specifically. Yeah, okay, that's kind of, yeah. It's like a bunch of people put their hands up and a bunch of people are like, I'm too tired to care. So I get it. It's 6:30. Okay, so I'll toy around with it, and then again I'll just get beat. Like after the first one, if everyone's like, actually we hated that, then I'm like, okay, I can go back to the old one. Like it's not a problem, right? I'm flexible. I'm willing to adjust. So if my math isn't terrible, that's 100%. So notice again, no tests, nothing like that. Again, the quizzes they're paper quizzes, so you just take a picture. There's no lockdown browser or anything like that. It's just take a picture, submit it. What else do we have? Oh, the important spiel I have to go over, and there's a specific reason I'm going over it because you wouldn't believe me, but it happens literally every section of this class I have ever taught, and that's academic misconduct. So this is math, and you might be thinking, okay, it's kind of hard to get caught cheating in math, right? Because the answers are the same. That's true if maybe you don't submit your friend's assignment with your friend's name and ID on it. So that happens every term. Every single time I've taught this course, someone does that. So don't do that. But let's me talk about this a little bit, right? Because you do have group projects. So these are individual work in the sense of you're not barred from working with your friends on stuff that isn't a group project, right? But submit your own work, right? So just like you're sitting there at the table, you're working on it, and then you're both like, okay, we figured it out. Then you both just start writing down, right? That's really all it means. You submit your own stuff. You don't like photocopy your friend's stuff or take a picture of it or whatever, right? Like just submit your own work, because by the very nature of us having group projects, I expect that people will be working together. I mean, that's just life, right? I mean, what computer programmer is going to work by themselves, right? Like no one, unless you're a loner working on a solo open source project, in which case some people are still going to want to contribute to it. So you're still going to have to deal with them eventually. But point is, like, I expect that people work together, right? I'm not going to punish you for working together. Just make sure you do your work yourself, right? Another example of this is in this class, a lot of people think math is literally just numbers. No, there are word problems too. So if you copied your friend and your friend had a bunch of spelling mistakes and you have those exact same spelling mistakes in the exact same order, sorry, I don't want to do it because it's a lot of work for me, but I would have to submit it, right? So it's stuff like that, right? Like you submitted your friend's assignment. I look at that and I'm just sad because I'm like, there's no plausible deniability in this. Like I can't even, like, even if I wanted to, I can't turn a blind eye to that because it's like you submitted your friend's assignment. So just be honest, right? Just, do your own work. For the group projects, make sure you credit each other. Just write everyone's name on it, that sort of stuff. I mean, none of this is stuff you haven't heard before, probably. What else do we have here? There's not really much to say about Blackboard other than, so like I said, the Blackboard is pretty simple. There's not a whole lot there. It's like we got a link to our notes, like I said. There's a folder for group projects. There's a folder for the quizzes, the worksheets, that sort of stuff. It's all pretty self-explanatory. The quizzes, it's literally just upload a file so you can. Let me not open a can of worms. Submit in normal file formats. So like, a JPEG is a normal file format. If you submit a tech document to me, I can open that, but don't. If you know what that is, great. If you don't worry about it. I'm just saying, like, don't submit weird file formats that I have to then convert. Because I know how, I can, but you're making more work for me, and I might just go, no. So just normal file formats, PDF, pictures from your phone, Word documents are fine, stuff like that. I will say, though, if you submit it as a Word document, Blackboard's not very good at parsing some of that formatting. So I would recommend, because I have had some students in the past, they like to type up their assignments, they do it in Word. If you do that, save it as a PDF, because it will just destroy the formatting of Word. It doesn't work very well. Yeah, I think that's all I have for outline type stuff. One thing I do want to mention actually is, so I do come literally from that class is 4:30 to 6, 4:30 to 5:50, and then this class. So because it's back to back, my brain might get a little mucked up. If at any point in this class I'm like going too fast, it's probably because I just did it. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, I've already talked about this. It's like, no, I haven't. You haven't seen it yet. So do not feel at all ashamed to be like, Travis, you're going too fast. Slow down. I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. And that can just, I am aware of it. I'm pretty good at normally not doing it, but just so you're aware, if it does start happening at any point, just Travis, no, we didn't talk about that yet. And I'll be like, oh yeah, we didn't. Sorry. But that's just a thing I wanted to mention. But any questions so far? It's pretty bog standard, I would say, math stuff. Okay, well then in that case, like I said, the structure of the way I structure this course is there's essentially, a bit of lecturing, like I just did, and then there's work period, right? So I got this. Let me really quickly talk about this. This is quiz 1. So there are some questions on here that historically almost no one answers, and that's okay. This is a pass-fail quiz. This is, especially if you're here right now, just try it, right? And if you don't know the answer, if you're like, I don't remember, it's been 8 years since I took math, I don't remember any of this. Totally okay. I just want to know that. So this is for me more than anything to just be like, what does the class know? What do they struggle with? Is there something in specific that, cropped up? Everyone struggled with this specific thing. And I'm like, oh, that's important. I should mention it. Or maybe everyone struggled with this specific thing. And I look at it, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to know that though. It's fine. So this is more just to get you thinking about math again, just like getting into the habit of it and just, I realize that now, look, like the more I do it, I'm like, this is kind of a quiz to make you feel bad about yourself, essentially, because it's like, hey, let's just see what you know about math. And then most people hand it in, they're like, I don't remember anything. And then this is one of those things where I get to say it. I'm like, it's fine. It works out fine. And then the students who are handing it, they're like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be fine. And then it is. Because this course is, it depends on 30-2 in the sense of like just general familiarity with math as an idea. We kind of build most things from the ground up. The topic that would need you to know some math is linear algebra, but that's mostly if I will present everything to you that you need to know. It's basically, can you add and subtract and multiply numbers? That sounds simple, but oh, believe me, in linear algebra, it's so easy to make mistakes. When you're like, okay, -2 times 5 plus 3 in your head, and then just mess it up. I do it all the time. But that's the point, right? Is like, so on here, I have like, hey, factor this quadratic. If you're like, I don't remember how to do that, that's fine. That's okay. If we need it, I'll teach you how. So yeah, it's just to give me an idea of where is everyone in the room at. And I've done this like 5 or 6 times now. There's usually no surprise. Generally speaking, this turns out the same every time, in that everyone knows exactly what I expect them to know, and it's exactly where I hope it. Because if everyone managed to do every question on this successfully, I'd be like, uh-oh. Well, this course is going to bore you. That's never happened. Here we go. 1, 2, 2. I hope I have enough. I think I do. Yeah, so it's pass fail. So if you put your name on it and you hand it in, you get 1 out of 1.
Yeah. Very coming back. He told me.
You're okay with that?
I try to explain to him, John.
I got a goodie bag
So
program
hard to find.
that has some head.
Before the RBC, RBC,
Bank industry.
so that's why I said.